Power to Practice presents how to order Evexia Diagnostic Labs through P2P with Ali Tenhagen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Tenhagen, and I am Director of Lab Services here at Forum Health and Power to Practice. And today I wanted to give you a little demo of how to utilize our new integration with Evexia Diagnostics. So I'm signed into my Power to Practice test account as an HCP user, a healthcare provider account. So you want to make sure that you're signed into an HCP account in order to order testing through this integration. And once we've signed into that account, what I have pulled up here is a test patients chart. So once you find your patients chart, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to this ordering section, just like we normally would today, to order some lab tests for a patient. We'll click on that lab test option. That screen will pull up here. And then what we can do from this standpoint is click on our lab company selection. So you can see I have a few favorites that I have set up already in the system here. Some of these lab companies that you see that are not necessarily part of the Evexia integration. And then obviously any of the ones at the top that are organized by alphabetical order that do have the Evexia in parentheses after the lab company's name. Those would be all of our options that would be offered through the Evexia integration. So let's say I want to order a LabCorp test for one of my patients. I'll select that LabCorp Evexia option, and then we'll see a few options here. So we'll have this date to draw. So you can either keep it as it timestamps to the date that you're on today, or you can post that lab out if you wanted to. So for this instance, let's say I wanted to place this order to be drawn for on the 21st. And then my next selection that I'll make here is this bill to option. So you can see it automatically defaults to nothing. So we do have to make a selection in this box here. So we can either select, do I want Evexia to bill my patient directly for the cost of testing? Or do I want Evexia to bill myself and my clinic for the cost of testing? For this example, I'll go ahead and click Practice as my bill to option, and then we'll go through a patient example in a second. And then our last selection that we'll want to make here is our blood type collection. So obviously with most LabCorp tests, if not all, some type of blood collection will be needed. Automatically it defaults to none again. So we'll want to make either a selection of, do you intend that patient to go to a LabCorp patient service center to get their draw done? There is a $7 additional charge through Evexia for patients to go to patient service centers for LabCorp. They also have a mobile phlebotomy option as well. So if you wanted a mobile phlebotomist to come to your patient's home, we can make that selection, and Evexia will help facilitate that appointment for your patient. Or maybe you have an in-clinic phlebotomist that you utilize that you want to use for this order. So for this example, I'll select the in-clinic option. And then you'll see here, whatever diagnosis codes that you have in your patient's chart, just like how it works for typical lab ordering in P2P, automatically will populate on this patient's order. And if for whatever reason you want to remove any of those, you can do so as well. So once we've made those selections here, you can see that I also have some test groups or test panels already pre-configured that I've set up for my Evexia LabCorp, as well as some commonly ordered tests as well. So let's say I want to order my thyroid patient or thyroid panel for this particular patient. I can easily select that. It will automatically select all of those tests that I've included and set up for my specific thyroid panel. And then, of course, you can also add on any additional tests that you wish as well from your commonly ordered test section. If you do want to add something that maybe isn't already pre-set up in your commonly ordered test section, you can also freely search for certain tests as well that are offered through this particular lab company's compendium through Evexia as well. So something else to note here is you can hover over each of these tests that are in our commonly ordered section. And what it'll pull up is this pop-up box that shows you the full name of that specific test that you have selected or that you're hovering over, the test ID number from LabCorp for that particular test, and then what Evexia's practice or clinic price is for that test. So that'll populate for any of these tests that you can hover over in your commonly ordered test section. So kind of going back to what I have selected for what I want to order for this particular patient, you'll see all of those particular tests will show up here in this middle section. And then our system will automatically total up all of those tests and the practice price for those as well for you. So from this standpoint, we have two options. We can either, I guess three, we can cancel this order if for whatever reason we don't want to place this order anymore. We can save this order if, let's say, we're not fully ready to place this order for this patient today, but we do want to save it as a pending lab order for our patient. What'll happen when we click that button is we'll have this PDF that pops up in a separate window. This is not a requisition form that your patient can use, but rather just really meant to serve as a draft order. So it will show you all of your practice information, your patient's demographic information that's being pulled from their chart, what specific lab company that you're ordering this from, and then what your billing selection was for this order. And then, of course, a list of all of those tests and the cost of each of those tests with a total at the bottom that will show. So we can go back to our P2P screen here with our patient chart. And because I saved that order as a pending lab order, we see that it now shows up here in our pending lab order section. So let's say now I'm ready to place that order for this patient. What I can do is I can just click on that date to draw, and it's a live link that will actually pull that same order back up that I've already started. And let's say I'm ready to place this order now. So from here, I can actually click that order button. So what this will do is it will actually send this order through both the Evexia system and to LabCorp's system as well. So you'll have that exact same PDF that will pop up as well, just kind of being that draft, making sure that everything that you intended to order for this patient and all of your selections were captured correctly. And then again, we can go back to the Power to Practice screen, and it typically takes up to 30 seconds, although often we see it take much less than 30 seconds for that actual PDF and lab order form to populate in your Power to Practice system for your patient's chart. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this order a couple times. But what we'll see happen is eventually you'll get a PDF icon that will show like this, that will be a live link that you can click on, and you can actually pull up that lab requisition and order form for your patient. So this is what your patient will want to, if they're going to a patient service center or having mobile phlebotomy completed, what they'll want to have available and printed for the phlebotomist to be able to facilitate this order. Or obviously, if you're doing it in clinic, that's what we'd want to send in with that patient's samples. So it'll show up in two places. You'll be able to see that icon here in this pending lab order section once it's available. And then similar to how our system works today, you'll also be able to see that same lab requisition populate in your patient's document section as well. So depending on your settings that you have set up for your Power to Practice clinic, you can either make that requisition private so that your patient cannot view it if you're not ready for them to be able to view that order and actually get that lab order drawn for, or it automatically will be available for your patient to view. But you can easily access that exact same lab requisition from the patient document section, and their patient could also access it from their patient portal as well. So once we, or now that we've kind of gone through an example of what it would look like to order a LabCorp test for our patients, and specifically to bill to practice, I want to go through another example of ordering a LabCorp test for our patients, but maybe we want Evexia to bill our patients directly for the cost of testing. So we'll really follow almost all of the exact same steps that we did in that last example. I'll quickly just click on LabCorp again as our company that we want to order this specific test through. We'll do a post dated to the 22nd for this particular patient's order. And this time we're going to select patient rather than practice. And then we'll still do our in-clinic option for phlebotomy. This time we'll do a hormone panel that we'll order for this patient, and we'll click order. So something that's going to be different once we have this PDF pop up for this particular order is when we select patient as the designated person that's going to pay Evexia for this order. Your requisition will not become automatically available in your Power to Practice account. Evexia requires that patients pay for their orders ahead of time before they make that requisition and lab order available for patients. So what's going to happen once we submit that order for a patient pay is I've set up this patient to go to my specific email. Your patients will automatically receive an email from Evexia Diagnostics that looks like this. So it tells them, welcome to Evexia Direct, kind of walks them through. They've set up a temporary login for this patient to log into their patient portal with Evexia Diagnostics and walks them through how to do this. So once you've logged into your patient portal here, what your patients will see is this kind of dashboard screen. So your patients will be able to pay for their assigned orders that you as their provider have placed for them. So you can see just for this demo to patients purposes, we placed a handful of orders that this patient has outstanding. It'll show them the cost of those orders as well. There is an additional 3% added service charge, just so you are aware, for patient pay orders. So that price that you'll see populate in that order screen that we saw down here, that is, like I said, your practice pay amount. And when the patient is going to pay for their order, they'll just see a slightly higher amount than what you saw in your P2P ordering screen, which would be that additional 3% that they'll add on. So once patients pay for their order here, their requisition will be available in their portal. Obviously, from that point, they can get their specific order drawn for. And then once test results come back, automatically those test results will be sent into your Power to Practice account through our integration with Evexia Diagnostics. And then Evexia Diagnostics does provide a 24-hour grace period of letting providers access results for 24 hours prior to them making those results available to patients. And that would be specific to patients paying for their orders. So you can see, obviously, in that patient's Evexia portal here, there is also a box that they can view their test results, and then a handful of other items as well. Once your patient does pay for that order, though, you will see that exact same icon in that exact same requisition then appear in your Power to Practice account, both in this pending lab order section, as well again in that patient's document section. So it's kind of nice that this patient will be able to access this specific lab requisition and order form in a couple different spots, both in their Power to Practice portal. You will also have visibility to that as well once the patient pays. And then, like I said, they'll also have access to that in their Evexia patient portal as well. So that's kind of how we would place all of our LabCorp orders for our particular Evexia integrated LabCorp orders. And the next couple examples that we'll go through are some of the specialty tests that Evexia offers. So in this example, I'm going to pick, let's say, a Genova diagnostics test from Evexia. So Evexia offers about 30 different specialty lab companies, all of the top ones that hopefully you're familiar with using. And so I don't have any specific commonly ordered tests set up for my Genova lab company, but we'll want to make some of those same selections. So we'll want to make that draw to date if one is applicable, or a collection date. You'll definitely want to make a selection of either, again, patient pay or practice pay. I'll just do practice for this particular example. And then let's say I'm ordering a stool test from Genova. So a blood collection would not be necessary. So I can keep that at none for this particular example. So I'm going to search the GI effects comprehensive test. And I'll make that selection of that 1-day option. So from here, again, you'll be able to see that full name of that test, and then our calculator here at the bottom will total to what that specific amount comes to. So let's say I'm ready to place this order for this patient. So as many of you may know, for most of these specialty companies that or that Evexia offers, they don't necessarily have a specific lab requisition that's going to be electronic that will generate for their particular order. So we'll still see that order populate in our pending lab order section here. So we see that one populate here. It's a little bit lower because I didn't post-date that draw to date out. So obviously this filters these by chronological order. So a requisition will not populate here because it's not a traditional lab requisition like we think of with a LabCorp order. So what will happen at this point is Evexia Diagnostics is now going to drop ship Genova GIFX stool profile or whatever test it is that you've particularly ordered. They're going to drop ship that test kit directly to your patient. So whatever address that you have on file on your Power to Practice chart for that patient is the address that Evexia will utilize. So you want to make sure that's up to date. And then what we can do from this standpoint is you can toggle back into your Evexia account. So I'm going to look up my test patient who I have called Test Evexia. If I log back into my account here. So I can find that patient that I just placed that order for, and I'll be able to see that, yep, it looks like Evexia received my order for this specific Genova test that I ordered for this patient. And at this point, like I said, we're pending them shipping that out to our patient. So once Evexia does ship this out to your patient, which typically takes 24 to 48 hours, you'll see a tracking number populate here when it becomes available. So whatever courier that specific lab company uses to ship kits, you'll see a live link here that you'll be able to click on so that you'll be able to track when is that specific kit going to arrive to my patient so that they can start collecting for that specific test. All of their shipping times are typically followed by the standard times that the lab companies do typically take to ship. Ballpark, I would say to expect about a week, give or take, for those kits to ship from the time that you order them, from the time that your patient does receive those. And then once results become available for those tests, similar to all other tests that are offered through the Evexia integration, those tests will automatically become available in your patient's chart in P2P under your new lab test results section that you typically are viewing on a daily basis. So that's how we'll order all Evexia labs.
Thank you for joining the Power to Practice presentation on how to order Evexia Diagnostic Labs with Ali Tenhagen.